Find your niche.
Well, hello everyone. Christopher Dillard here again with the Niche Finder as we head into the month of May of 2025, episode number 17, I do believe it is. So what do you do when you have a psychiatrist who's also a storyteller? Absolutely profound mind, this intellectual, this one who is just loves serving in our community, has helped so many people already. I'm so delighted to be talking to him during this interview. You're going to be absolutely blessed. Who am I talking about? I'm talking about Dr. Asa Briggs of Greenville, South Carolina. He was absolutely amazing, and just can't wait for you to hear this interview. Don't forget to follow us right there on YouTube. That's Christopher Dillard Media right there on the YouTube channel. And when you get there, don't just watch the videos. Make sure you hit that subscribe button that you see right there on our page. It helps us get the information out to thousands of people. So thank you for helping us do that. Again, that's Christopher Dillard Media right there on YouTube. When you get there, what are you going to do? You're going to hit the subscribe button right there. We appreciate you and we thank you. Right now, ladies and gentlemen, it's Dr. Asa Briggs of the Briggs Psychiatrist Office right here in Greenville, South Carolina. Watch this. And it's Christopher Dillard here again with the Niche Finder. I am so delighted, so honored today to be talking to this young man who you see in front of you. He is a professional. He is a doctor. He is one that really helps our community, helps so many in our communities that need mental help, and we're going to talk with him on today. I'm so honored and so delighted to be talking to this young man who launched his career as a psychiatric practitioner at Unity Health Care Incorporated, the largest federally qualified health center, also FQHC in Washington, D.C. Over the course of 7 years, he served as the discipline director of psychiatry, where he led initiatives in quality improvement and the implementation of best practice guidelines. And we are talking today, and I'm going to get back more to this bio here, to Dr. Asa Briggs. Yeah. Man, I appreciate you. Thank you so much. This time is just an honor. Thank you.
Well, thank you.
Thank you for welcoming us.
Yep.
So, Dr. Briggs, let's just jump right into it now. Right. And I know, you're a doctor, you're a mental health person that deals with a lot of stuff. You have to hear a lot of stuff. Sure. And I'm pretty sure some kind of way you have to decompress yourself to make sure, I guess, you have a good quality of life. So 100%. You have to hear a lot of stuff.
That's right.
So doctor, let me just start with this. How does a person know when they need either a therapist or what's the other word I wrote down here? Either a therapist or a psychologist or a psychiatrist. How does one know?
Yeah. So I think that, the common person wouldn't know the difference between those things. Right. So a psychologist or a therapist is going to be somebody who talks to the individual, looking at the different circumstances and situations that individual might be facing.
Sure.
A psychiatrist is going to do the same thing, but then they're also going to be able to prescribe medication. And so the difference is the medication piece. Okay. And so the psychologist, more talk therapy. The psychiatrist is going to be looking at the biological issues that are going on and try to address that from a medication perspective.
So you can prescribe medicine.
I can prescribe medication.
So that's what's on your bio here, Dr. Asa T. Briggs, DNP, which is, if I'm not mistaken, Doctor of Nursing Practice?
That's correct.
Oh, I did my study.
Doctor. Yeah, you did. Yes, you did. Yeah.
Doctor, thank you so much. Now, of course, you do a lot for the African-American community because you want to bridge that gap to make sure we get the help that we need for our mental illnesses. Is that correct?
That is correct, because there's
Tell us more about
limited access to psychiatric care.
Yeah.
So my office is located off of Pendleton Street. And so I'm in the historic district of West Greenville.
West Greenville.
Right. Yeah. And so years ago, a lot of people wouldn't have even ventured to come into this on this side of town.
Mm-hmm.
And so as I was praying and seeking God about where I should land, this is exactly where he told me to come.
Wow.
Because access to care is so important.
Come on.
And so as you are trying to be an impact in the community, you want to exist in the community in which you're trying to impact.
Oh, it makes
so
sense.
If I were on Woodruff Road trying to impact people in West Greenville, then the lack of transportation and access to care would be a barrier. And so I exist at this practice to really sort of be in the community for the community and speaking the language of individuals who come from this community so that I can encourage them to come into my practice when they have a lot of mental health challenges.
That makes so much sense, Doctor. Yeah. You go to where the people are.
Exactly.
And they can have access to you.
100%.
Right? You know, Dr. Briggs, when we're sick, we go to the doctor. When we're overweight, we find a nutritionist or a trainer.
Yeah.
When we need help in those areas, we seek out the doctor. But for whatever reason, when we need space and help here, when we need mental guide, so to speak, we don't seek the help of a psychiatrist or a psychiatrist, especially in our community. Why I see now that barrier has been broken down so much because people are talking about now mental health, mental health.
Yeah.
What do you think is the catalyst for our people now? It seems catching up with making sure we're taking care of ourselves mentally.
Yeah, I think that for a long time, we have lived under this idea that what happens in this house stays in this house.
Stays in this house.
Right? And so I think that legacy that we passed on from generation to generation, people are now saying that what happens in this house doesn't stay in this house. It leaves in your clothes. It leaves in your DNA. Man. It leaves in the way that you move about the world. And so I think that people, especially the Gen Z generation and my generation, we are now saying it's not enough just to try to get by.
Come on.
We need someone to guide us and talk to us and provide us with some level of comfort that we're not crazy.
Right.
We are byproducts of some of the trauma, intergenerational trauma, things that our parents and our grandparents went through. And I think that this generation is now deciding that mental health is not any different than physical health.
That's so good.
Yeah.
You know, it seems that sometimes we as older generation, we can say, we take the note and we'll say that these young people act like they can't handle anything nowadays, and they break down. They it just seems like they just fall apart. We went through so much more, and we can handle it more. Well, we had to go through more than they did. So why is it they act like they can't handle stuff? But it's a different day and time now, Doctor. Am I right? I mean, we're talking about social media. We're talking about people measuring themselves by others. It's a different time now. Am I right?
It is. And if I may, I think that when you think about emotional intelligence versus IQ,
come on.
I think that this generation, because of COVID and the isolation and not being around friends and developing the natural sense of socialization, that their emotional intelligence is way lower than the individuals that grew up in our era. Wow. And so we're trying to help people to understand how to appropriate their emotions and to talk through things.
Sure.
But we're doing it now because I think that we're having to catch them up. There's so many developmental delays and social delays that happen because these kids spent most of their formative years in isolation.
Absolutely. I think sometimes we really do forget what COVID has done to our society.
100%.
And I mean, we're not talking about just young people, older people also.
Right.
It just seems like people are just popping off the handle at the drop of a dime now. And we're like, what has happened to our society? People, it seems, are just meaner. Whatever comes up, comes out. It just seems like we have no patience, it just seemed like COVID really done something to our state.
And I think from a trauma perspective, I think a lot of people are in constant fight or flight mode.
Oh, man.
Right. And so trauma teaches you that you can do one of three things: fight, flight, or freeze.
Woo!
Right.
And that's the first I heard that.
Yeah. And so a lot of people are angry and upset, but anger is actually fear turned upside down.
Anger is fear turned upside down.
Right. And so when you don't know how to talk and communicate about what you're afraid of, society says it's okay to be angry, but it's not okay to be afraid. Because fear indicates that there's some sort of impediment or there's a capacity issue. And so I'm trying to teach people in this office that it is okay to be afraid.
Yeah.
But let's talk about it. Because on the outside, people are seeing you as being this angry person.
Yeah.
And the only thing that is getting the attention is the anger.
Is the anger.
And you're not getting the necessary help.
You know, I was going to say this later, but let me tell you about this guy I follow on social media. You probably have heard of him, I'm sure. Jason Wilson.
Okay.
He's the guy that teaches young black men like jujitsu. He teaches them the art of fight.
Yeah.
But also he works on their mental, their emotional state.
That's right.
And he teach them, black men especially, black boys, how to be emotionally stable. That's right. How to be a comprehensive man, a man that can think before he reacts. And I thought of that last night when I was preparing for this interview. And I love him. I love watching his videos because he'll take these angry black boys, not only teaching them how to fight, but teaching them how to be emotionally stable. And he shows them what to do when those emotions of anger and bitterness and where trauma has happened, when it comes up, he teaches them how to think before you act.
Absolutely.
Is that not so important for our young black men to learn to think before we pop off?
100%. Because I think that, again, going back to this idea of fight, flight, or freeze.
Yeah.
If you don't know what to do with the emotions of anger, then the easy, low-hanging fruit is violence.
Yes.
Right? And so you go to the thing that is easily accessible.
Absolutely.
And so we say that boys will be boys, right? We say that all the time.
Yeah.
But men need to be able to harness their emotions the same as anybody else. But I think the most important thing that we need to talk about is allowing people to be emotional beings, and especially young African-American men. We don't have space, and we don't create space for young black men to experience the gamut of emotions.
Help us, doctor.
Right? And so it's like, if you tell them that they can't be angry, when they get angry, they don't know what to do with it.
Don't know what to do.
Right? And so you can tell people, I tell people in this office all the time that I want you to experience the gamut of emotions, because anyone who talks and pretends to be happy all the time is probably the person you need to check on the most.
Absolutely.
Right? And so it's not about not being angry, but what does it look like when you're angry, and what do you do? And so it sounds like Jason is teaching young men, when those emotions come up, what do you do with that in light of having maybe not a blueprint?
Yeah.
Your dad doesn't know how to appropriate his own emotions.
Right.
So he can't teach you what he doesn't know and what he doesn't exercise.
Right.
And so I think that those are the things that we need to do as a community, is we need to tell young men, we hold a space for your anger, but we want you to do it in a way that reflects what's really going on versus what other people will see when you act out in aggression and violence.
Oh my gosh. Well, that's why I got the doctor, because I could not have said that any better. Listen, you're a South Carolina native.
Yes.
You also advise both profit and nonprofit organizations.
Yep.
Your expertise helps those organizations enhance their capacity to address the shortage of local and global resources essential for effectively treating vulnerable populations with mental health challenges.
Yeah.
You're also dedicated to let me read it.
Okay.
You're a dedicated mental health advocate with experience at state and local federal levels. And you also contributed to President Obama's My Brother's Keeper initiative, offering insight to shape policies aimed at better preparing students of color for emotional and mental challenges in the educational system. So that's
a mouthful.
That's profound. It's a mouthful. It is profound. I had to take a swallow on that. But man, I'm telling you, thank you so much for your training. Thank you for what you're doing for our young African-American brothers. And we're going to get off the heavy stuff here, because I do want to know more about you. But one last question I'd like to ask, Doctor, is let's talk about trauma and abuse. Our people have gone through a trauma that sometimes you can't articulate. I'm talking about Black people. And people can deny it, and they can say, oh, you know, you're always crying about this and that. But Black people have already gone through just the trauma of being African-American in the United States of America. So with that compiled upon what we already go through in life with that, and we were talking about young Black men. Why is it that, and let's just talk about the behaviors, the effects of what we've gone through. Sometimes we have addiction. We have people just get hooked on stuff because of what's going on here and here.
Sure.
So why is it that some of us can try a drug and say, no, that's not for me, and we're good. But some get addicted to a substance and they cannot move on from it. Why is it that that happens, you think?
Yeah, so addiction is genetic. And so there's a lot of people who have genetic makeups that they have no idea that they have some issue with drug abuse.
Yeah.
And so they try that substance of abuse for the first time because those are means of maladaptive coping strategies. And so when you have something going on internally, your body says instinctively, what do we need to do to get this out of us? Right. And so if you don't have a solid foundation, if you don't have a community that anchors you in something where your moral compass is turning you to a true north, then you're going to turn to any and everything as a means of coping with those things. And so you see this a lot in college. You know, in my instance, you go into Clemson University. You see individuals who come in their freshman year, they smoke marijuana once. They don't come back the second semester. Because a lot of times what we don't understand is that substances of abuse are often tied to mental health. And so you smoke weed, you got a predisposition for schizophrenia, bipolar disorder. Your gene expresses itself because you expose that gene to a substance that should have never been in your body.
That's amazing.
And so that individual will never come back to baseline because they smoked marijuana one time. One time.
And they say that marijuana can be the gateway drug to other substances that you get hold of to numb us more.
That's right.
So to speak.
Right. And so you don't want to ever numb your emotions.
No, you don't.
I think the best way that you go and heal from trauma is to go through it. And so you have to expose. The only way that you can heal from trauma is to go through it and to process the thing that happened to you. Because otherwise you're numbing yourself. Even in some instances, I have to tell my patients, medication may be necessary in the acute phase, but let's think about how does your body respond when you're exposed to the thing that causes you to be anxious. Well, if you blunt your emotions, we can't work through it. So we have to expose you to it gradually in a protected environment and say, okay, your heart is beating because you think you're afraid. It reminds you of a situation that you felt hopeless or helpless. But in this environment, you're not. So let's train our body to function in the way that it should, even in the presence of a perceived threat, because you know you can protect yourself now.
You bring support, you bring comfort, you bring non-judgment, which helps people to be healed.
100%.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. So doctor, let's talk about you, man, because you got to be a special type brother. You got to be a special type individual that jumps in this fire and want to help people heal emotionally. We're talking about stuff that people can't see that's going on in individuals, and your profession jumps in and say, let me help you. So who are you? Who are you to get into anything like this? Who is Dr. Asa?
So Dr. Asa had no intentions of jumping into mental health at all.
Okay.
If anybody who knew me back in Emory and Woodruff and Clemson, I wanted to be an attorney.
An attorney.
Right. And so advocacy was always the thing that was at the forefront. I wanted to be a criminal defense attorney working with juveniles in the system. The carceral system is not restorative justice. If you get into the carceral system, oftentimes you find yourself there for many, many years. And then you pass that legacy on to the next generation.
Oh, Lord.
So I thought that God was calling me to be like a Thurgood Marshall.
Right.
So I wanted to be that guy that showed up for people. And then one day I was a part of this movement called the Impact Movement, which is an organization of Campus Crusade for Christ. And instead of going to law school, God upended that and sent me to Nashville, Tennessee. And so that's how I started understanding that if you wait until individuals are in the carceral system, it's too late. So psychiatry and mental health for me is my attempt at swimming upstream to see why the bodies are flowing downstream. And so what I began to realize is that there was a lot of emotional trauma and a lot of baggage that people, again, going back to this idea of smoking weed and all of the things that we do in an effort to assuage the things that hurt us. Crime is one of those things.
Oh, man.
And so that's why I believe that God called me to go upstream and to get people beforehand, early intervention and early prevention, but it starts in the community and understanding the ills of the community so that we're not pointing the blame at individuals, but we're looking at it as a whole and a collective.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. I don't even know where to go from that. Oh man.
Yeah.
So doctor, so let me ask you, how is it that we can better ourselves today?
Yeah.
What is it that we can do today to help our mental state and help us at least get on the path of working out these ills that we have going on internally?
Yeah.
Just some things we can do.
I think taking an inventory, right? You take inventory with the foods that you need in your pantry.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so you say, you know what, we're running a little low on this. Let's go to the grocery store. I think people need to start reading their gauges. Your gauges tell you a lot about what's going on in your life.
Yeah.
You think you know your car, you say, you know what, I don't need to get gas. I'll get it in the morning. You get up and then you realize you don't have enough gas to get to the gas station. A lot of us are running on fumes.
Come on, doctor.
We live in a society that rewards busyness.
Yes.
And we call it productivity.
Yes.
We're all trying to get to the American dream only to realize that it's smoke and mirrors. And so I think that what people really need to do is that anything that is of substance and is long lasting takes time.
Yes.
So you got to slow down.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, again, going back to mental health and trauma and all of those things, it tells you that you have to give everything and not get anything in return. So a lot of people are existing in empty cups.
Oh my.
And they're trying to, give out of empty cups.
Yeah.
And so one of the basic things that you can do is exercise.
Yes.
Get up, try to do something, even if it's moderate.
Yeah.
I don't expect for people to be CrossFit gym members and Olympic lifters, but do something every day that will give you that vitality that you need, get your body moving, get the blood flowing in your body.
Sure.
A lot of people have a lot of things going on in their minds. I just tell people to get a notepad and just start jotting down your thoughts and then taking inventory and asking yourself, is there a pattern of thinking that is causing me to live beneath the person that I know I can be?
Wow.
Right? And so the proof is in the pudding. Yeah. And so then if you do that inventory and you decide, I've taken myself as far along in this journey, going back to a full circle moment when you talked about a trainer.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so your therapist can be your mental trainer. You have a physical trainer that helps you with your body. So I believe in taking care of the whole person. Yes. And so coming to see a therapist is a tune-up.
Oh, come on.
It's a trainer, right? Yeah. You got your gauges there. The therapist can look at those gauges and say, I think you need a little oil here. Yeah. I think your transmission might be about to fall out. So things of that nature. So using that metaphor that people can understand.
Sure.
And then we put you back on the road, not as a perfect person,
right,
but as an individual that has the necessary tools to get you through your journey.
That's good.
Absolutely.
So exercise,
journaling, and if appropriate, come to see a therapist. Doing things that you enjoy. I love golf.
Yeah.
So I play golf. I love travel. So I travel.
You do travel. I do.
I love to travel. Right?
Every time I look up, man, you are going somewhere.
Because if I don't, then I'm going to be bogged down with the cares of this world.
Oh man!
And God doesn't call me to this work just for it to be burdensome. I hear the things and then I can release it.
Amen.
And then I go out into the world to do things that give me life. And travel and being with friends and experiences are good.
What's amazing, what you just said, is that you take your own notes and you take care of yourself first.
Absolutely.
You take care of yourself.
I do because, again, I try to speak in a language that people understand. If you've ever been on a plane, they tell you that in the event that there's some changes in the cabin pressure, it's unlikely. But if it happens, I need you to put your mask on first.
Put yours on first.
Exactly. And so it took me a very long time, Mr. Dillard, to really take care of myself. And I think that for me, just in terms of personal testimony, I had a nervous breakdown, and I'm calling it a nervous breakup now.
Oh my goodness.
And so in 2018, I decided that I needed to get my own help. And so walking through this journey of healing and wholeness for myself, I think has really helped me to walk and to be transparent and vulnerable to my patients. And I think that it has really added value to my practice. So it's not just anecdotes, stories, data that I've read, but it's lived experience.
How powerful is a life that has gone through the experience first, and so when you come to help somebody, you say, "Look, now I've been there.
Yeah,
I've done that, 100%. And let me tell you how I got through."
Exactly.
And then you have the education and the know-how behind it, man.
100%. And so that lived experience and the education know-how, I think, has really helped me, because a lot of times people don't want to talk about the difficult things.
Right.
But what I have learned is vulnerability and transparency is your superpower. Because the enemy is essentially, he's the accuser
of the brother.
The brethren. Yes, and so if you tell your story and you're able to articulate your narrative, the enemy or anyone else doesn't have the ability to tell your story because you're willing to do so. So nobody gets to tell Dr. Briggs' story.
Man, I about went to running there. Right there.
Nobody gets to tell my story. So I took my power back by being transparent and vulnerable.
Come on.
And so there's nothing that I can't do in this world now, because I have nothing to hide. I have no secrets.
That is so good.
And so when you live in light, then what do you have in terms of association with darkness? None. And so, but your fear will tell you that you can't come into the light.
Right.
And so those instances are when the deleterious effects of walking in darkness and keeping secrets and the mental health, that's when the mind gets bombarded.
Doctor.
So you got to bring your whole self into the light.
Yes, sir.
And that doesn't mean that you tell all of your business to everybody.
Right.
But you need to tell somebody something about what's going on.
Absolutely.
Right. And so having the emotional intelligence and the wherewithal to understand who and when and how, appropriate it might be to share certain things.
Yeah.
But rest assured that I am free and I have the ability to say and to do the thing that I know that God has called me to do without shackles, with no snares. Man. And so that's the best place.
So talking about freedom.
Oh, that's a lot of freedom.
Talking about freedom.
But it's a journey.
Oh yeah.
It's a journey. And so I think I started my journey at 39 and I'm 45 now. And I'm as free as I've ever been. And my emotional and mental clarity is as clear as it has ever been.
Wow.
But it did not happen in the way that I thought it would.
Okay.
It took some trepidation. It took a lot of work and a lot of heavy lifting.
Oh man.
But it was worth it on the other side.
They say, and you're the professional here, they say men are more emotional than women. I don't know how true that is.
100%.
But we just have a difficult way of showing it and getting those emotions out. Right. Because women, they'll get together and they'll hug on each other and they're like, girl. But men we don't do that. We don't have the spaces. Yeah. We don't get together and just say, man, this is what's going on. But we got to have an avenue to where we can get those emotions out and be able to articulate them.
Absolutely.
And so we can get better. Doctor.
Absolutely, we do.
Wow. Okay, doctor. So we started this. Time. Okay. So we started this podcast, man, in hopes of bringing information, such valuable information like you just gave, out to people to help people to find their purpose in life. Certainly seems like you have found yours and what you do in your professional and your serving our community. Doctor, there are people out there who are hopeless, who are saying, I have no idea what I'm going to do tomorrow. I'm at my wit's end. I'm hopeless. I don't know my purpose. How is it that you could give encouragement, inspiration, something that you could say to help spark an interest in people, to help them to go out and really find who they are and what their purpose is?
Yeah. Well, throughout this,
I think we've already said it properly.
But throughout this podcast, you can tell that I'm a storyteller.
You are.
I love telling story because I think that the Bible instructs us in terms of storytelling and parable.
Sure.
And so as a Boy Scout, one of the things that I was taught, that when you go out into the woods and you have a compass and you get lost, if somebody needs to come find you, the best thing that you can do is be still.
Woo!
Because if the person that sent you on the path, they know where you're going. If you get off the path, then it's very difficult to find you.
Sure.
So I tell people all the time, if you are unsure about what you're wanting to do in life, stop. Right? Because someone in somewhere sent you off into the world. Maybe you were sent off ill-equipped to handle the journey, and somebody can come to your aid if you would but just stop. But a lot of times we don't stop. And so we want to pretend that we have it all together. And this is in particular to men in particular, because we don't want to show our inadequacies and we don't want to show any sort of impediments, because vulnerability is a sign of weakness.
Right, right.
But the best thing for us to do is say, you know what, I have done this and I've done that and nothing is sticking. Let me just stop and ask for help. And so I think that is the best gift that a lot of people can do, is that when you're lost,
yes,
and you need some direction, don't keep going and don't veer off the path, because then if someone needs to come and rescue you, they at least know where you are or the direction that you were headed. Okay. So that's why community is so important.
Absolutely.
No man is an island unto himself.
That's right.
Right. And so you can't do this life in a substantial way without community. So you have somebody that is checking for you. I have a best friend in Alabama. He and I are close friends. We've been since Clemson. Okay. This man knows everything about me. And so in the event that I need somebody to come find me, he knows the path that I'm on, because the core of who I am doesn't change as you grow and mature. Right. And so again, a lot of people don't know where and what to do because they haven't been exposed to a lot of things. I had the great fortune of having aunts and uncles that lived outside of my community that would expose me to other things. Growing up and going to Harlem and just having different experiences, lived in DC and saw African Americans that were doing amazing exploits. And so it was something that I saw, and I therefore could become that. And so exposure, but again, if you're not sure, stop. Somebody can find you, come alongside you, and journey with you in a way that can help you to make sense of your life mentally, emotionally, spiritually, physically, etc.
Oh my goodness. And that spiritual, you really sound like a minister. I think that's in your future. I'm not.
Well, a lot of people have said that.
Oh man, I can hear it.
But whatever the Lord calls me to do, I'm equipped to do it. Not in my own strength.
Not in your own strength. Yeah, I'm gonna start calling you Reverend right now. But anyway, Doctor, we appreciate you so much. I told you this time would go so quick, and I just appreciate you sharing with us. And I can guarantee I would put a check on it that you have helped somebody. And the questionnaire that I sent you back, and you said, and I asked, do you feel like you're fulfilling your purpose in your vocation? And your words are absolutely. And I asked, how can others get into what they're called into? And you said education. We need more people of color, even in this space, this field that you're in.
We do.
How can you say a little bit about that?
Yeah, I think that because people don't value mental health in our community, this isn't necessarily a viable community, a career option. Right. So we put a lot of emphasis on athletics.
Oh, we do.
And we put a lot of emphasis on entertainment.
Come on.
And there's so much in between all of that.
Absolutely.
That we're not exposing our kids to, because we don't put the value there. This career has afforded me a lifestyle and an opportunity to be impactful to not only myself, but my family. I had the great fortune of buying my mother a house.
Wow.
Right. But no one talks about the everyday situation where people are doing things that are not entertainment or sports related.
That's right.
So I think that, we don't put that premium there. And so we certainly don't do that for our young men. So there's a lot of Black men that need to see people who look like them.
Absolutely.
And because of not putting a value on mental health, people won't even look in this space. And so Briggs Psychiatry is really, for me, I was telling a friend, I hope that this is a legacy play. I hope that someone in my family will see the value in what I'm doing and want to continue this legacy of Briggs Psychiatry long after I'm gone.
Wow.
Because I know that this is not just a moment in which mental health is in vogue, but mental health will be the thing that needs to be at the forefront until he returns or calls us home.
Amen.
Because our mental space is the most important thing. I tell people all the time, mental health is health. If you're not taking care of your mental, then you're not taking care of your physical.
You're not.
You're not. If you're depressed, you're not going to the gym.
That's right.
If you're depressed, you're not making sure that your hypertension or diabetes is controlled, right?
Right.
So you had my friend Dr. Buffalo on here.
Yes, I did.
And so he and I have had conversations about the importance of the interplay between your mind and your body, right? Those things are not separate and apart.
Right.
They're connected.
They are connected.
And so as we think about mental health, we should never deprioritize our mental health, because it is the center of the cog in that wheel that I think that keeps things going.
Wow. Dr. Asa, Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Asa Briggs, man, we appreciate you so much. I knew I was going to get something out of this.
All
Nobody
right.
else did.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you having me.
Thank you so much. This information is absolutely valuable, and I'm so glad, so honored, so grateful for your time.
The pleasure's mine.
Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Asa Briggs
of,
I want to get his name absolutely correct. He's the CEO and founder of Briggs Psychiatry and Behavioral Health PC right here in Greenville, South Carolina. And as I always say at the end of each episode, that is a wrap. Thank you.
I found my niche. To make all my dreams come true. I found my niche. Yeah. Just believe in yourself. And you can find your niche. Keep going, never give up, no. Find your niche, yeah. You can find your niche.